Hi, James here. So I did a webinar last week and there were a few complications from a tech perspective. I really do apologize. I'm not terribly sure what happened. Having dug into it a little bit, I have a fair idea in terms of technically now what went wrong, but at the time I had no idea. So we had about 350 people that had registered, and yeah, there was only about 50 or 55 people that got into the webinar session itself. I was using Webinar Jam for some bizarre reason. I think yeah, something happened when I went in to add additional slides, and from there on in, it was only the people that had logged in literally like 3 minutes before 11 when I ran the session that were able to get into the room, or a few people that potentially found a link that I popped up on Facebook. So I must sincerely apologize for that. What I have planned to do is I'm going to run another webinar, another free one, a bit more in depth for parents. I'm going to do like an hour and a half. I'll do it in the evening as well, so hopefully that'll be a bit easier. I might do it around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Hopefully that will suit people in terms of time. So what I want to do here, besides show off my really interesting background that I'm using on Zoom, virtual backgrounds, I do want to jump in and just give people a kind of a quick 10-15 minute overview in terms of some of the stuff that I did cover on the webinar. And I'll go into a lot more detail on this. And if you have any questions specifically around how you can use this, or questions or queries about how you could use this with your kids, please just ask. For those of you who are already on the parent course and there's anything that you're unsure of, or there's anything that I can help with, very, very happy to jump on a one-to-one. We can have a phone call, we can have a Zoom call, and if there's any difficulties on the tech side, we could even jump in and remotely control some of the tech on your side. If you're on our parent course, that's an offer obviously to people that are with us. Okay, so let's just jump in here. I'm going to share my screen. So what I want to do here is I want to touch on some of the built-in technology, built-in software. I'm not going to go through my slide deck. Really, that was just a little bit about me and my background, and I suppose in terms of some of the difficulties that I had both in my primary and secondary school experience, and why I use assistive technology as much as I do. But really, this is kind of the back end of the course, and what I wanted to do was to use some of this to help parents. So dependent on what you have at home or what you have access to, so if it's a laptop or if it's an iPad or an Android or whatever it might be, there are built-in accessibility on most devices. So just bear that in mind. If it's a difficulty with reading, with writing, with executive functioning, so around planning and whatnot, maybe it's around study in general. We have a lot of stuff that's on the course here, but I want to kind of use this as a guide for me to kind of help you with some of the elements. So for example, if we look at the iPad to start off with, so there's a number of iPads that are available. If you are thinking of buying one or you need to buy one, then the most recent one is probably the best value. You know, you don't need to go for an iPad Pro for sure. Just a standardized iPad is perfectly adequate. You'll get it for around 390 odd euros, give or take. The 32 gigabyte storage is just fine as well. No need to go for any more than that. So what I would be saying here is, in terms of the iPads themselves, if we look at the built-in accessibility, so if you're using an iPad and you haven't upgraded the software that's sitting on the device, then you're looking at, I think it's called iOS 12, right? So that came out in September 18, and it's typically with us for a year, give or take. Every September, Apple brings out a new version. So the version they brought out last September is iPad OS. So we see that here. I give a kind of an overview of it, but there's accessibility features in both. So if I look at the accessibility features of the iPad itself, which would have been the iOS 12, which a lot of people might still have. I'm just going to play this video. Just want to show you where they are. Okay, so when I come into settings and I go to general, and I have my eyes closed, lots of options in here. So if it's depending on the difficulty, the challenge, if it's, you know, dyslexia, dyspraxia, if it's CP, you know, there's a whole array of functionality and accessibility that is available to you. But what we're most concerned with around speech predominantly is so general, so settings, general, accessibility, and then you're looking for speech. So we want to jump in here to speech. You know, like we can change all these settings. So if I skip on here a little bit more, this is the screen record functionality. And so there's an awful lot in here in terms of keyboards, in terms of elements that are built in. And then this is why, you know, not that I'm going to get into it in depth here, but like I'll send out some links afterwards, but the level of accessibility that's available that's on your device. You know, we often think that we need to get different apps, we need to get different software to make it as accessible as possible. Whereas in reality, a lot of this stuff now is built in. And the same thing goes for, if we look here to the built-in accessibility of the iOS or iPad OS, same sort of thing. Again, it's a different and slightly different environment, in that we go to settings, and then it's actually called accessibility here on the main stage. So they've moved it away from being settings, general, and then accessibility. Now it's on this main navigation bar on the left. So it's just called accessibility. And a few of the items are slightly different words. So for example, we now have spoken content in terms of readback functions or speech. And there's just a number of different functionality that are in there that are going to make life a little bit easier. But there's loads of stuff that's built into the iPad or the Apple devices that can make reading much easier. And I'll jump into that in a few seconds as well. Okay, so that's just a quick overview in terms of the iPad. Same thing actually for Windows, right? So if you're using a Windows device or a Chromebook, loads of Chrome apps and options out there as well. But again, if you're thinking of buying an iPad, then that is the iPad I would recommend. Like I said a few moments ago, it's the latest one, not the Pro, the standardized version. And then if you're thinking about using or getting a laptop, or you feel like your student or your kids need a laptop, then what I would be saying is, you know, maybe have a think about potentially, if you're going to buy new, buying something a little bit more expensive. You know, so this is something we cover off on the course as well. Yeah, I go into a bit of a detail on it here, like things to think about. So like the laptop spec, you know, so like 14-inch screen, at least 8 gigs of RAM. This is basically the hard drive. So SSD, so it's a solid state drive basically. So you want something that's really quick and reactive. When they open it, it works pretty much out of the box, and that's what we're aiming for here. And in terms of the processor type, if you have any questions on this, just let me know. You know, there's some really good options at the moment that are in the likes of Curry's. You'll get good laptops there, but just be careful when you jump into the likes of Curry's. And you know, when you go in the door first time, they got those like deal busters, and they're like, you know, I get this fantastic laptop for €200, and you're like, oh, deal. It'll probably last you a year. And so just be very careful if you are buying something from them, that you make sure that it's actually something that's going to last. You know, like we want to buy something that's going to be durable, that has a long battery life, a good processor, that's going to work for different programs over the length of time they need it. You know, at least 2, if not 3 years, we want to get out of a laptop that we pay €500 for. If budget's an issue, then what I would be looking at is potentially something along the lines of using Green IT. So with Green IT, greenit.ie, they're a company based in, I think they could be in Carlow actually, now that I think about it. Really nice guys. They refurbish business end laptops and resell them back into education. So you could get a really good laptop there with good spec for €300, a 12-month warranty. Really, really worth looking at the lads at Green IT. So again, I give a few recommendations around what Apple devices to go for. Obviously, if you're getting an iPad, go for a case. Go, you know, think about the insurance options. Very important. You can get Apple Care, which is well worth it. It's probably like €49. Yeah, it's about €49 at the moment in terms of Apple Care. And if you do buy a laptop via the likes of Curry's, you can get their add-on insurance. And again, here, for example, if you buy a laptop for in the region of €400 to €600, you're talking about somewhere in the region of maybe €130 for insurance. And if, depending on the child, if you feel like there's a chance he may well drop this in the next 6 months and break the screen, €130 over the 2-year duration or 3-year duration is money probably well spent, I would say. The other thing that's key is to make sure we get an Office 365 or Office 19. Okay, so again, many options out there, but my recommendation would be to go with the likes of Microsoft 365 yearly license. You get it for €69. You can put it on multiple devices. So it could be on his laptop, on your device. It could be on their iPad or their phone, whatever. So it means that anything they're developing or doing at that given time can be accessed from any device. So really important that we kind of just be a bit clued in terms of what you're using on the device, and that it's saved into the cloud and is really accessible, I suppose. So in terms of assistive tech for reading, quite a lot that we can look at here. Windows has some built-in accessibility for reading for sure. And I have a quick video on it there. But if you are using a Windows device, then the Microsoft Edge, which would be a browser. So how we access the internet, you know, like a lot of people would use Chrome or Firefox, and Internet Explorer was the one we used for years with Microsoft. They've brought out a new one. It's called Microsoft Edge. And in actual fact, it's really, really accessible. So I would be very inclined to get people to use Microsoft Edge. It has a built-in reader. So we can open Edge and get stuff read back. So there's this read aloud option. Immersive Reader is another lovely thing that Microsoft have brought out that's built into a lot of the options. So it's within their learning tools functionality. And again, I'll send you a few links on this. Narrator is something that's built into Windows devices. That's really more of a, if we have people that are visually impaired, so it's more of a screen reader, but we could potentially use it for readback functions too. So there's some built-in functionality in Windows. This is the learning tools, what I was just talking about there a few seconds ago. This is Microsoft's built-in functionality for reading and supporting reading and writing. So they have dictation that's built into Word. I'll give you a quick demo of that in a second. That's basically where we can press a button, so this little dictate icon will appear, and I literally just put my cursor in there, click on it, and it'll read back directly to me. Sorry, it'll allow me to speak into the computer, and what I say appears on the screen in the Word document. And that's really powerful for students that struggle with handwriting and or spelling. You know, or if it's a fine or gross motor skill issue, then again, Dictate is a phenomenal option. It's become really, really powerful, and now it's built into lots of software that we use. So Immersive Reader, another really good one that's built into Microsoft Word. So it's a way to get Microsoft to read back to us. That's really nice. And then there's other things you can change, like line focus, the color of the page, the text spacing. There's a whole array of things that are built in, and I have this nice kind of graphic here of where those free tools for Microsoft are available on the different platforms, and I'll share that out as well with you later. Natural Reader is a lovely one to go for as well. This is a website. It's free, so they have a nice online version. They've got a Chrome plugin, which is really good, and yeah, it's predominantly for laptops. But you can open PDFs and have them read. You can annotate on the PDFs. And just a nice starting point in terms of text-to-speech, or if your student or child struggles with reading, then Natural Reader would be a good starting point, I would say. For some of the younger kids, Nessie Reading is a lovely one. Nessie Reading and Spelling. It's really nice because it's kind of like, it's gamified, it's island-based. We get the kids to jump around to different islands, relatively cheap. You could get it for a month and test it out. They think they're playing a game, whereas in reality, they're doing lots of work around literacy and numeracy. So certainly worth a look if you've got some younger kids. Text Help have Read and Write. So this might be something that people are familiar with or you've come across in the last while. I would say probably one of the key text-to-speech devices that's out there, or pieces of software. It's been around for a long time. They're actually based in Belfast, do phenomenal good work. Have a free introductory version for Chrome and Edge, so you can get it and put it on the browsers so it reads for free for you. So that certainly is a good one. Then on top of that, in terms of writing, a lot of built-in functionality on the iPad for writing, and there's a few apps that are kind of go-to for me. So certainly the likes of, for reading, my apologies, so the likes of Office Lens, free, Microsoft-based, goes on your Android and your iOS device. So really nice. You can take a picture of a document and it'll read it back to you. So I think I might do a demonstration of this here. Again, my eyes closed. So for example, that's of the whiteboard. We could pick it up. We could take a picture of the whiteboard, and it basically would, you can see there, it's cropping in just to the whiteboard. If you see that there, it's kind of put a red kind of orange box around the whiteboard. It's a really nice one. That's free. Seeing AI, another really good one, completely free as well. Yeah, again, Microsoft supported. Now they actually bought the company out who developed this piece of software. It can take pictures of documents, read it back. It can actually take pictures of handwriting and have that read back. So again, really diverse, lots of options with the likes of Seeing AI. I certainly would recommend it a lot. This is a lovely one, I think, the Voice Dream Reader options in terms of apps. So again, going to send out a link here. VoiceStream have just put a discount available for their VoiceStream Reader and their VoiceStream Writer apps. So I think they're down to like $5 or €5 to buy each app, which is phenomenal good value because the app itself is really, really good in terms of reading. If I open it up here, what you can see is it comes built in. I'm just going to move myself around there. It comes built in with the dyslexic font, which is phenomenal. It gives you the option to focus in. So you'll see me here in a second. So now I'm focused in on the lines when I start reading, and I hit the play button here. It just reads the line, highlights the word. And the functionality that's built into this for €5 or €10 is phenomenal. It's certainly my go-to app for reading, I would say. So I've got a lot of material here around accessing digital books. I won't go into this in depth now, but what we've done is we've just kind of given an overview of all the book publishers, the companies, how you access them, how you get in contact with them directly. And then we have a booklet that we created that I'll send out with an email attaching to this webinar, or sorry, to this recording, I should say. So how do you get digital books, and I suppose workbooks, as importantly, in digital format? So that's something that I have here. That's in a booklet that, yeah, absolutely, I'll give that out to people. The other one is the scanning pens. I just want to briefly touch on the scanning pen. That's something that a lot of people talk about. You know, how can I use this scanning pen to help my son or daughter with reading? And it's a great tool. What I will say, it's not the silver bullet. So just bear that in mind. It's not perfect for all kids. I've seen it work phenomenally well with some and not with others. And then if we have kids with DCD or dyspraxia, it can be difficult for that group to get it to work. But then again, I've seen it work really well, you know, so it really is up to the student. What I want to say here is that it's a really good piece of technology, and what they're just offering at the moment is they're giving it out now free on trial to parents in Ireland. So that's a really good offer from the guys at Scanning Pens. Jack Churchill is the owner. I just spoke to him last week. Phenomenal offer. So basically you just fill out a form, they'll send it right over to you. You can keep it for 2 weeks, trial it with your son or daughter, see if it works. If it does, you pay for it. If it doesn't, just ship it back. No questions asked. So you don't have to pay up front or anything. So I think that's a really, really good offer from the guys. And I'll send you the link. You can see it working there. Yeah, so basically I would just highlight it over the text here, and then what I want, it'll speak back to me so I can have headphones in as well, or else I can see it displayed on a small screen. Works very well for a lot of students, and a lot of exam years would use it now as well. So in terms of supports around writing, again, Google voice typing, a lovely one, free, built into the Google experience. You just need to have a Google account, and Google Docs is a lot like Microsoft Word, for the want of a better explanation. So that's something that you can look at. And then aside from that, for some younger kids, obviously there's the Microsoft Learning Tools, which we talked about a little bit earlier, which is really around the dictate options and some other resources that I can send out to you. And then finally, we have Clicker, which is certainly for younger students, I would say, but something that a lot of junior secondary would start using also. There's some tools here around maths. Like maths is the one we get a lot of questions on. Nessie numbers will be my sort of go-to. Equatio is a lovely one. I'll send you the link to Equatio. So this is really maths where it's spoken from voice and it just dictates. And so whatever I say, just the maths appears on the screen. That's a lovely one to have. Number of maths apps that are available out there. The one my kind of go-to one in many ways is the Maths versus Zombies for some younger kids. And then for the older kids, it's kind of like Mod Maths or My Script Calculator is quite good. In terms of, this is really preparing for secondary, but it's the same across the board. In terms of organization and file management, that's something that I think is really important that we kind of get on top of. And it's it's about the naming structure. So how do we actually name files and folders? And if we're expecting kids to use technology a lot, which we are, if they're using assistive technologies, how do they use the likes of Microsoft OneDrive? How do they use Google Drive? And it's just about you, maybe as a parent or a teacher or SNA, just giving a bit of guidance about how you set up folders. And it's not too dissimilar from the folders you might have in school or the folders you might have at home. If they're an older student, it's just the same principle, and just getting into that constant way of constantly naming folders and naming files. Not to say that I'm really good at doing it myself, but certainly I promote it. So touch typing is another one. Like loads of options in terms of touch typing. Younger kids, Nessie Fingers, again, really good, relatively priced, like €35. It's a really good starting point, and you can test it out first. BBC Dance Mat, love that one. Typing.com, loads of good resources there. Typing Club, another lovely one as well. And then the kind of cream of the crop in many ways is TTRS. So that's either subscription based, or you can get access to TTRS for free via a lot of the local libraries. So worth touching base with your local library, either email them or ring them, whatever is the best way to get in touch. There are a few people in Ireland that are providing TTRS supports. So there's a lovely lady in Castleknock, Carol Pitcher, who does a lot of work around TTRS and does face-to-face classes, but also is doing some remote work now in terms of teaching touch typing. So she's doing that via Zoom. So it's certainly worth touching base with Carol. And then there's also, finally, a little around mind mapping, something that you can do. We would use that a lot with younger kids and kids that are in exam years. So inspiration is one option. MindMeister is one that I use myself quite a lot. And just nice ways to get kids to get the information that's here on paper, and then that's the starting point before we do, an exercise or an assignment or an essay or whatever. So just get them to get the information, to label it out ever so slightly. And then the very final one I'll just touch on before I let you guys go is around the Pomodoro Technique. So basically, a random one, I know, but it's really about breaking down blocks of time. So it's quality over quantity. And so, it might be about doing, Pomodoro is all about doing 20 minutes of really solid, intense work and then taking a 5-minute break. And you can change those time intervals depending on the age of the child and the concentration that's available. But I use it myself quite a lot, and I might do 4 blocks. So I'll do 4 blocks of 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off. And that 5 minutes off might be checking email, it might be checking social media, whatever, get up and walk around. And then after I've done 3 or 4 of them, I'll get up and take a 20-minute break, go get a cup of coffee or go get a glass of water, go for a walk, and just to freshen up and come back into it. And if you could get them doing that in terms of study, then, it's really good. Lots of things that can help you time that, like Flat Tomatoes, one I use all the time. Focus Keeper is another really, really good one. And again, I touched on this ever so slightly at the start, but around tablet cases, there's a number of tablet cases that are available that you should look at in terms of keyboard options. If they're using a tablet or if they're using an iPad, then obviously the iPad is quite small. It's 9.7 inches. We really want them to be using a full-size keyboard. There's many Bluetooth keyboards available that you can get on the likes of Amazon. There's a number of other types, Bluetoothed larger keyboards that you can also get. So that's a quick run through in terms of some of the things that we cover off on the course, but I think some of the key things that I think are most important to parents also. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'm going to share this out with people, share a few links as well. If you have any questions, just drop me an email. It's james@yourability.com. And I'm going to do a much more in-depth webinar for parents. I'll send that link around as well and give you plenty of notice so that you can sign up in time. Again, any questions, give us a shout. If you are on the parent course, please send me an email if you're struggling in any capacity or if there's anything I can do to help. And I'm more than happy to do, like I say, a one-to-one with those folks who are on our parent course. All right, have a great time. Thanks so much for watching this. See you soon.